start us off.
Donovan, I know it's been less than 24 hours, but going into this offseason, how do you plan on, for lack of a better phrase, just getting better and diversifying your game?
Nonstop work. Just being able to there we go. Just be able to find ways to. There's certain things I've learned. Playing against Houston and not doing as well as I had hoped is definitely, I guess, a good thing. I can see what I need to work on. And making reads, making certain tougher shots that weren't necessarily in my game. Efficiency, defensively. There's so many things that I could go down the list, and there's so many things I'm going to work on, and I'm not going to be able to work all of it all at once, but get better in certain areas and hope to pick up my intensity on defense and whatnot.
How have you approached your personal development that's allowed you to have such a good rookie season?
Just watching film, with Johnny and Quinn, being able to take it day by day and not really get upset, when the mistakes come, being able to play through mistakes, being able to stay locked in and get through the tough times, because there were times where y'all remember at the beginning of the year where it wasn't so great, it didn't look as good, so just being able to stay the course and stay locked in and just nonstop preparation with film. And I don't think that will stop. I'll probably watch all 90-some games all over again before we get back, and just watch and just understand what I could do to get better.
You've said a few times throughout the year that your mentality was you didn't think you were going to be here, but now that you obviously are and should be, how have your goals for your career changed? Your expectations for yourself changed?
I think the expectations are the same. I think now it's more real, if that makes sense. So, obviously I want to be, defensive player of the year. I want to be, an all-star, and hopefully an MVP. But, you can say those things, at the beginning of the rookie year, everybody wants to be MVP, everybody wants to be an all-star. But now it's like, all right, I see what type of work needs to be put in. I feel like I can do it, that confidence. And I never said I don't feel like I can't, but now it's like, you can taste it a little bit more. You can feel it, and I think that'll allow me, to go into this offseason with the preparation and understanding of how hard I need to work. I need to get in better shape for starters. It would be perfect so I don't, get tired. Stuff like that will allow me to take my game to the next level.
Donovan, you've mentioned kind of some of your goals for this summer. I don't know if there's been time to figure this out yet, but have you figured out some of the where you'll be, what the kind of the plan is, whether you're going to have Jazz coaches, teammates with you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'll be with Royce's annoying butt for a while. No, but just hanging around, with Royce. I'm gonna go with Epe to the EuroLeague Final Four. That'd be pretty cool. So I'm gonna be with the guys a bunch. I'm gonna be training with any NBA great possible, and I can get in contact with just to pick their brain. Definitely gonna be with Johnny a lot, and I'll be back here a lot. This isn't a victory lap summer. It's been a great year, but this in my head there's a lot more to work on. And I guess the foot is a blessing in disguise. Because I had to take some time off. But just being ready to stay focused, and I won't be going too crazy, like anywhere crazy or anything like that, but I'll always be focused and ready to go.
Don, you talked about the foot a little bit, just kind of an update on that, and also what did you learn about yourself? I mean, you was put in a lot of adverse situations, being a rookie, and what have you learned about yourself the most that you didn't know before the season?
Well, the foot feels better than it did last night. It's in the boot as a precaution, but as far as what I learned about myself, man, I don't know where to begin, to be honest. A lot of this stuff that I say to myself, like my mom used to say to me, man, Don, like, you're good, and I'd be like, all right, Mom, like, thank you. Like, Mom's supposed to say that, but, there are times where, like, now where I'm like, man, like, I really did that, and I think that's where I'm at right now, as a mentally, like, man, like, this is, I mean, it's over, but like this happened, like this is this is a once in a lifetime, thing, and I want to keep it going. I want to continue to get better. But right now I'm just in I guess, awe, and just kind of just reflecting on the entire year as individually, as a team, because we were 19 and 28, and we made the second round, so like that's crazy, if you think about the turnaround, the standings in the West, for the last month of the season, the amount of sleep that I would lose just stressing about not making the playoffs, because that was my only thing like I really wanted to do. Like there'd be nights where I just couldn't fall asleep. I'd just be in bed. I just couldn't sleep because I was thinking about it, and man, it's just crazy how all this has come together, to be honest.
You were pretty down after the Game 3 performance, but then you do have this ability to bounce back. How did you find that balance or that fine line of, you can't be conscienceless, you have to be aware of your weaknesses, but also not get too down on yourself, which is going to happen as a rookie?
Well, I think one of my strengths, per se, is that I do get down on myself pretty hard. I came in after Game 3, sat in my locker. Like, if I didn't have to do podium, I would have been at the locker pretty much until like 2 a.m., just sitting there. I didn't take my jersey off. I was just sitting there, just because that's not who I am. It was no effort. There was just an ugly game as a whole for myself. So just being able to, I watched the game probably about 2 or 3 times, barely ate dinner, and that's how I am. When I have a game like that, usually I go back to the gym and shoot, but you can't do that in the playoffs. So mentally, I was trying to find a way to kind of get back on track, and I talked to Coach Quinn for about 20, 30 minutes, and he just put it all in perspective for me, he feels like every time I do something bad, he feels like I had the world on my shoulders. I put so much on myself. And it could be a good thing and a bad thing, as well. And it could be detrimental if you let it. And, we had that talk, and I came back in Game 5. And he told me, he said, I expect you to bounce back the way you can, Didn't say much in film when we came here. Didn't really say much to anybody. Just kind of took time to myself and locked back in. And, understanding, like I said, I watched the game over and over again, so I understood what they were going to be doing, why I looked the way I did. And I came back and made the proper adjustments for 4 and 5.
Donovan, you earned a lot of respect around the league. There's probably a lot of guys that would want to play with you. Mm-hmm. If you had the opportunity to recruit a free agent, what would your pitch be to come join you and play here in Utah?
Man, well, first off, if you look at this organization, was July 4th, a lot of the teams in this league, would, all right, let's start over. Let's start from scratch, but it starts with Dennis. It started saying, no, we're not doing that. We're going to put a team together that's going to do well. And I don't think we saw all this happening, but we knew we were going to have some success. And I think that is a mindset. And I think if you're to recruit a free agent here, if their mindset is where it needs to be as far as winning and locking in, then that's where I would start. Right there. And then on top of that, we got guys who are selfless. No one cares who scores, who shoots. We are really focused on winning, and finding any way to win. You look at games where AB had 22 last night. Royce had a career game, in Game 3 or Game 4. So, it can be anybody, Rudy, myself, Ricky, Joe, whoever. And I think that's the selflessness will be one of the things that, you can show the ball movement. Everybody gets the ball. It's not just ISO basketball, which works, for some guys and some teams. But for us, we move the ball, we pitch, and we do what we have to do to win. And I think that's where it starts. And you don't even have to sell Coach Quinn. He sells himself with what we've done this year, coming from 19 and 28 to doing what we do. Obviously the players make plays, but we need a coach to do that. And Coach Quinn is makes recruiting a lot easier. Similar to Rick Pitino, he makes it's easy when you have a Hall of Fame coach, and I think Coach Quinn will be that guy, a Hall of Fame coach.
Donovan, as you process the year, what's it like to think back about the first time you were in this building, not quite 12 months ago, and do you remember anything about who was with you working out that day, or just kind of what feeling you left with?
And Josh Hart, Frank Mason, Emil Jefferson, Devin Robinson, and London Prentice. So I remember that. That was my first workout. Everybody was wondering why I worked out for the Jazz. They weren't in my range. my thing was you never leave any stone unturned. You know, you got to, like, make sure you work out for everybody, at least show everybody, like, how I'm capable, you know, and I want to work, you know, and I didn't know, I personally didn't know where I was getting drafted. You know, my agent was like, you're going here, and, you know, like I said, I didn't know any of this was going to come, so I came here, I tell the story about the mountains and the pictures that I took and whatnot, and the organization, like, from when we came in, we were actually on this side, you know, before the renovation was done, and we came in and we had breakfast, and everybody was just so nice and like everybody was talking to each other, you know. And I worked out for probably about half the teams in the league, and not every situation was like that, you know. It didn't feel welcoming, you know. It felt like you were at home when you came into this building, and that was the vibe that I wanted, you know. It's not like college where I could be like, all right, this is where I want to go, you know. Definitely wanted to come here, and, you know, but I was like, man, it's unfortunate that they were 24, you know, but you know, to think of it as not even a full year ago, and then to say that we just finished playing the semifinals in the Western Conference, you couldn't tell me that last year that this was going to happen, and for me to believe any of it, and I'm just thankful that they took a chance on me. You know, that's really it. I'm just thankful that they saw something in me. And the story that came out on Dennis is pretty funny about what he said about if they'll fire. I think that's pretty cool. And I didn't think I did that great, but I thought I did pretty well. But that's pretty cool.
It looked like you and Ricky had a moment on the bench at the end of the game last night. Could you give us an idea of what that was like, what that meant, what was said, and you guys started to talk about the future? Or are you still focused on kind of what happened in this series?
His message to me was, "We'll be back." You know, he said, "Take this and let it marinate." You know, he didn't say marinate. His English isn't that good, but he just said, like, you know, let this feeling, you know, let it sit here for a little bit. You know, similar to what Jay said after we lost Game 3. You know, we had to let the loss, you know, kind of sit there with us, you know, to play better. You know, I think it's pretty much the same thing. You know, as I just sat there, and, you know, as I was sitting there, you know, watching, you know, the confetti coming down, you know, just sit there and watch, you know. And it's one thing to have it come down when you win, you know, and everything's great, but, you know, you want to see it when things don't go your way, you know. You want that feeling, that itching, because that's what motivates you, and that's what gets you going. And that's pretty much what was his message. You know, that what his message was just to let this feeling go, because we'll be back, and that'll be the constant message, I feel like, throughout the summer with everybody. We'll be back.
Donovan, I wanted to ask you about some of the off-court whirlwind, I guess, that kind of enveloped you as the year went on, whether it's us in the media or all of the obligations that kind of came your way. I'm sure that was a bit of a surprise as things first got going. Was that a big adjustment for you, and how do you feel you were able to kind of adjust to that those trappings?
I think the obligations weren't. It became a lot. You know, I think after February, after the dunk contest, you know, not so much with you guys. Like, you guys, we have our, like, routine, like, you know, everybody goes through it. But the national media is what really took me by surprise. You know, how like taxing it can be sometimes. You know, you gotta learn how to say no. You know, and it's tough. You know, and any kid coming in the league first time would love to do an ESPN interview every single day. Like, why not? But, you know, you got to understand that you need rest. You know, that's why even scaling back, going to the Utah basketball games, you know, went to the BYU game before we played, and I didn't realize how far it was. You know, my body gets tired. You know, the little things you just don't know until you experience it. And I think just going through those experiences allowed me to see and allowed me to understand, you know, that how to take care of myself off the court, you know, how to prepare before games and what to eat. You know, like to see, like, I'm at Benihana almost every day, but, you know, I can't keep doing that. You know, but I'm starting to realize the word no as far as obligations are going. You know, whether it's appearances, media, whatever it may be, and, you know, not so much no, but no, and then, like, I'm sorry, like, this is the reason. You know, and it's tough, you know, for someone like myself who I would love to, you know, make an appearance to go to so many schools and talk to kids, but the same right, this is my job, you know, and that's what the transformation is for myself, to understand that this isn't school, this is my job. I get paid to do this, and I think that's been my biggest thing this year.
The chemistry and the camaraderie between you guys was really good in the locker room. It seemed to spill over into social media with the four of you guys usually. A couple of questions. Who was the funniest guy on, who would win those social media wars in your estimation?
Me. No.
And was that kind of a reflection of what was going on inside the locker room, or because you guys were such good friends, like doing stuff like that, did that carry over into the locker room? Or
I think you can say both. I think it started with the locker room. It started with the first trip we had to San Diego as a team. You could just get a sense of who's the funny guy, and a lot of guys from the team who were here last year. But as far as getting like myself, Thabo, Royce, Epe, like all the new guys, Jonas, everybody incorporated. You could get a sense of who's funny, who's the jokester and whatnot. Like who can you make jokes on and all that stuff. And what you see on social media is genuine. And that's real. It's not like we're just doing this for show. Like that's who we are. We make jokes. The same jokes you make on social media, the same ones we make in person. Just less cuss words. But it's just all fun, and we enjoy it, and I think that's the biggest. That'd be another, going back to I think your question about recruiting. That'd be another thing. Our team is selfless, and that's the word I continue to use. We love each other, and I mean love each other, like we have each other's backs, and it's not normal that you see that in this business. As I'm starting to figure out throughout my first year, you don't really see that, but we have guys who actually genuinely care about each other.
Donovan, kind of a two-part question. So obviously you said that Quinn kind of recognized that you take the weight of the team on your shoulders and you kind of feel that pressure. Do you feel like moving into next year with the offseason that pressure builds? And also, obviously, you've been kind of a face of the community, going to the different events. Do you feel like that's part of that as just kind of being that face of the franchise?
So I'll answer the last one first. That's just who I am. I love going around. I don't like just sitting at home a lot. I live alone, so it's just like sitting there watching Netflix. It's fun and all, but it gets kind of lonely after a while. So you go to the games. I'm still at college age. I'm a senior next year, so going to the college games, college atmosphere is just a fun vibe to be around, and to see, and understanding that as well as understanding my presence in the community, and being able to like go to a West High School football game, and just sitting there watching, and understanding the impact that it has on the kids, just seeing that someone like myself is in the crowd, coming back and giving back, taking time out, and the amount of DMs I receive after I go to a thing like that, I'd be like, man, you really inspire me. Like that's awesome to me because, if I was in the community, and obviously it's tough growing up where I grew up in New York, you can't go everywhere, but like when Melo was there, or like when Stoudemire was there, if they would have came to one of my games, it would have been like the craziest thing in the world, so being able to give that to people is awesome. And I forgot the first part of your question. I'm sorry.
Do you feel the pressure going into next year as a face of the franchise?
No, not really. I think I've done a pretty good job of understanding where I'm at mentally and how to cancel out all the noise per se about being the so-called face. And I don't feel like I am. I still feel like Rudy is. It's his team. He's been here the longest. I have a lot to learn from him. And whether people agree or not, that's how I feel. And I feel like I'm still willing to learn. I still got a lot to learn. It's only still in my first year. So I really don't look at it as all right. This is my team. This is my turn. It goes back to saying being selfless. I'm not really worried about that. I'm really focused on just finding ways to get better, and becoming a better point guard too would be pretty good.
Last question. Don, you talked about how you was, still in awe with, how you performed and stuff like that. But I mean, do you look at? I'm not gonna throw out anybody's name in particular, but just any, some rookies have come out and had really, really great rookie seasons and not lived up to the expectations. Do you look at, experiences like that and just kind of challenge yourself to not make this like a one-year wonder, a one year thing?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely see that. You see that for sure. But I think the biggest thing is it starts with the next 3 or 4 months. You can ride the wave. You can ride the wave and be complacent. And I've never been that way. I think that's what plays into some of the guys that you're talking about. They kind of just get there and be like, oh, this is my moment. You know, this is it. You know, but we made the semifinals. We didn't make the conference finals. We didn't make the NBA. We didn't make the finals. You know, so there's a lot more to go. You know, and I think that'll be my biggest thing going forward is just focusing on ways to get better and improving. You know, I'm not satisfied to win a championship. And after we won, I want to win too. You know, never getting complacent has always been my mindset. And if I continue that, I think I'll be okay.